Over the past few days, we've been practicing finding the angle pairs between a set of parallel lines and then this transversal that cuts through them. So when we have a set of parallel lines with that line that cuts through, we have four different angles up on the top line and then four different angles on the bottom line. We have been practicing in class to actually highlight those angle pairs to figure out how they are going to be related to each other and if they're going to be equal to each other or if they would add together to equal 180. We're going to take this a step further and actually put names to these angle pairs. So our first set of angle pairs is called corresponding. Corresponding angles mean that they were going to be in the same position in the top group of four as the same position in this bottom group of four. So if I look at this pink angle on the left-hand side, I'm going to put a filled-in circle there, and I'm going to fill in the same circle here. Looking at these two things, these two angles are obtuse. They are in the same position at the different parts of my actual picture, so they're corresponding angles. Same thing goes with this yellow one and the yellow one over here. Both of these are in the top right. So I'm going to put a star here, and the star goes here as well. So these are called corresponding angles because they are both in that top right corner of the angle group. The bottom right corner, again, is that pink, the pink angle. So this angle and this angle, the bottom right, are going to be matched together because they're in the same position at that bottom right. And then we also have the yellow and the yellow. So whenever I match something from the top group to the bottom group, did you notice that I have all the same colors? So whenever I have a pink, it matches with the pink, and this yellow matches with this yellow. That means that they would be equal to each other, or in math class, we like to call that congruent. So congruent is just a fancy way to say that they are equal to each other. So if I knew that this top right angle was 50 degrees, I automatically know that this top right angle would be 50 degrees because they are congruent or equal to each other. All right, the next set of angle pairs are called vertical angles. You might recognize the word vertical because this is a term that you used in 7th grade, but you just didn't have the two different lines. Vertical angles are within the same group of angles. So in this top right, sorry, not top right, the top set of angles, but they are opposite of each other. So this angle and this angle would be vertical angles. Whenever we talk about vertical angles, the way that I like to write it is with the A right underneath the V to show that they would have the two different angles that are connected by this vertex point. So vertical angles are the ones that are completely opposite of each other. So if I had a vertical angle, if I named a vertical angle, it would be this one and then this one right across from it. So going back to my highlighting, if I focus in on my highlighting, I can see that vertical angles would be the same color as well. So with vertical angles being the same color, then that means that they are congruent. So they would be equal to each other. So if I knew that this angle was 140 degrees, the vertical angle right above it would be also 140 degrees. This also goes along with our highlighting, right? All right, the next two kind of go hand in hand. Both of them are called interior angles. Interior means the inside. So we're talking about the inside of the parallel lines. So talking about the inside of the parallel lines, I'm only talking about these four angles because they are inside of the parallel line. The alternate interior are also just talking about these four interior angles. Okay, so we have, whenever we hear the word interior, we're just meaning inside of those parallel lines. When I look at these angle pairs, based off of highlighting them, if they are on the same side of the transversal, I would be talking about this angle and this angle. They're on the same side of this transversal line. One of them is pink and one of them is yellow, which means that they are not equal to each other. So they would not be congruent, but they would be supplementary. So supplementary is another word that we're going to be using a lot. It's another word that you probably heard about in 7th grade. Supplementary just simply means that they would add to equal 180 degrees, which we've practiced in class. Whenever we have a different color of angle, we would add to 180 degrees. All right, so if this is the same side interior, means that they're on the same side of the interior or the inside the parallel lines. Alternate interior still deals with those inside angles, but the alternate talks about the opposite. Alternate is just another word for opposite. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight my angle pairs again. So if I have my alternate, I'm talking about the opposite side. So if this star angle would be opposite of this star angle, and then this heart would be opposite of this heart because it's on opposite sides of that transversal. Now when I look at this, my star matches up with this other star and both of them are yellow. This heart is opposite of this heart, which are both pink. So since those are the same color, they would be congruent. If they are the same color, it just means that they would be equal to each other, and they are called congruent angles. All right, so the last two are kind of opposite. So instead of dealing with interior, we are dealing with exterior. Exterior deals with the outside of the parallel lines. So exterior means the outside. So I'm talking about the angles outside of my parallel lines. So if I'm talking about the same side, again, that same side is talking about that transversal, same side of that transversal, I would be looking at this angle and this angle. Those would be the same side. If I highlight them, I can see that this top angle is going to be a yellow, and then this bottom angle is going to be a pink. So if I have one of each color, that is supplementary, which is just a fancy word to say that they would be added together to equal 180 degrees. And then my last one is alternate exterior. So exterior again deals with my outside of my parallel lines. So I'm looking at these 4 outside angles. If I highlight them, I know I'm using a different color, but it is what it is. If I highlight these, I can see that those angle pairs would match up like this. And if it's alternate, alternate means opposite. So opposite. So if I have this blue that is on the top left, it is going to be matched with the blue on the bottom right. So opposite of each other. So this angle would be matched with this angle. Opposite sides of the transversal, but still on the outside of that parallel line. Then I would have this angle over here pair up with this as well, because I would have a top right paired with a bottom left. Now when I look at those angles, I can see that this star, or this blue, would match up with this blue. So they are going to be congruent because they are equal angles.